Linux Weekly Daily Wednesdays. Firefox 49 says goodbye to Hello, and Plex launches a cloud service that no one can use? Question mark.
I was thinking about something else. Some people really hate Google. Others despise them just enough to fork their code. Snapchat is either completely oblivious to Google Glass or they're hoping the hipster sunglass design will sell it.
And Chromium users are worried about the Chromecast not working anymore because they can't understand simple words. And you can run XFCE on your PocketCHIP, but it won't be easy.
I'm Vince Stone here at LGC Actual. We're switching these bits live using nothing but penguin sauce, and it really sounded, like Strider said, PocketCHIP. And that is definitely a rocket in your pocket. Joined every week, all the way from the Portugals.
Hello. I genuinely squirreled out there. My mind went...
Well, I know you weren't reading Reddit because you were looking at the wall. Then again, that could be a sign of something far more worrying. And from the West Coast, their LA chapter.
Yes, and I'm going to be looking at my wall.
He is, buddy. He got that Luchers thing. Jill and Steve got that, so he's constantly going to be doing some weird, leaning out of the way. It's like, you see the Luchers thing, guys. Anyway, we are here to talk about the Linuxy stuff. Normally we talk about gaming, but we do take a break on Wednesdays to talk about the stuff that helps make it run. And let's just get right into it, because, hey, free Chromebooks, right?
Yeah, apparently. So the Linux Foundation, they're offering a little bit of an incentive, as it were, if you want to get your systems administration certificate or a cloud administration certificate. The difference between the two? Hell if I know. But apparently it exists. So you can get it for the low price of $800 for the system administration bundle. Mm-hmm. And, well, also $800, but it's actually $400 off, plus the Chromebook, for the cloud administration bundle. Why is the cloud more expensive than the regular one? I don't know that either.
Hey, man, buzzwords are expensive,
because it's more trendy.
Yeah. Look, there is no cloud. It's just other people's computers.
Exactly. But you know what's... just read a man page once in your lifetime, and that's less expensive than just $800. Just pretty much the same information in it. And it's, you don't get a free Chromebook. It's just like a bonus for paying for this very expensive certification.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this. It's the Linux Foundation. All this business is always going to be in our show notes. For me, definitely would take the Pepsi challenge with just going ahead and getting your RHCE and using that leftover change to buy a Chromebook.
Oh, yeah, you'll have enough.
The thing is, if you want to study for the Linux certification, well, you can't really use that Chromebook because it doesn't have any of the software you'd be needing for this to learn about Linux. So you'd have to install Crouton and install a proper Linux distribution.
No, that was one of the first things we were talking about. It was like, okay, you need to reconfigure this switch. I'll plug this into your RS-232. Wait. Right.
The Chromebook? Nah.
No, not so much. But good news, everyone. Firefox 49 is here, and they have gotten rid of that feature that we went, oh, wait, that was in there. I always meant to try it. Never did, but it's gone now. That was called Hello, their WebRTC bit. But the new thing does enable for the select few, apparently we are the 1%, Pedro and I, the multi-process support. So that's good. It works. I really, really like it. It has made Google Docs actually usable in Foxfire. Good on you lot. That's definitely the biggest improvement that I saw with it. But I'll go ahead and say this. It's a bit too late for me because I've already turned into just like a shill for Vivaldi. I was like, it works great, and it's not completely tied into Google. We actually will get into some of that a bit later. Mm-hmm. And I can't help but think, Strider, that if, Mozilla had killed Firefox OS sooner and focused more on their core product, I would be still using Firefox.
I mean, it's good. It's always been a very good browser. Maybe it got a bit slow 3 years ago or something. It's still a bit lacking, but I don't know. There's this multi-thread process thing that I'm not using. I'm part of the 99% that don't get this feature mostly because I don't care enough to enable it. And I have a fast enough computer so that it's fast already. But it's nice that it's getting better and better all the time. And that's Hello thing that it's got axed violently. And amongst the thing they recommend, they suggest Jitsi, which we are using right now to make the show. So this is really a convenient way to do like WebRTC calls. You don't need to set up an account. You don't need anything. It works on every browser.
You don't have to have Firefox installed.
You can use it in Firefox. You can use it in Chrome.
What I was saying by that is that was kind of one of the issues with Hello. I mean, was it cross-browser compatible?
Nope.
I don't know because I've not tried it.
Exactly. I think that might have been one of the problems.
I remember trying it, and you could, in theory, access the Hello web page and try to connect with someone else, but it would say, you need Firefox to take advantage of the Hello functionality. Okay, no.
Yeah,
but on my end, I saw Ved's post earlier in the week about this, and it's like, oh, if you go to About Support, he'll know whether or not you're in the beta. Okay, so I went to About Support, disabled because of extras. Okay, what does that mean? Oh, it means I am in the beta, but I can't use it because I have, uBlock Origin and a couple of other extensions installed. All right, so let's just force enable it. I tried it on the cheapo Lenovo B5080 that I got last week, and it's a very noticeable difference. Like, genuinely noticeable. Good on them for that. Finally.
Well, from the fire to the chrome.
Yes, indeed. Because some people really do hate Google. They'll make it a point out of not using Google services because Google is evil, man. And then they will use Windows or Mac OS because that's different. So, Mr. Eloston, or however you spell that, decided to fork the Chromium code and release the sauce to his version, which comes with a set of patches to disable everything that Google does, including like safe search and a couple of other functionalities that come just with the regular old Chromium, in order to ungoogle it, as it were. And he literally called it ungoogled-chromium. Now, I get it. Choice is great. But why waste your time on something like this when there are so many other browsers out there? And I actually went to the FAQ is the first question that popped into my head. So how is this different enough to Chromium to justify a fork? That question's not there.
Wake up, sheeple. Pedro's just following like the masses, man. They're out to get us. And I can't do an Alex Jones impression. Dang it. I'll work on one for next week, though. This is definitely going to prevent the Googs from doing all that ooky spooky data collection that your ISP already does, Brad.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's a browser, so it's a piece of software that needs to be maintained. So I wonder how long this will stay around. And is it going to be here for like a few months, or is it going to stick here?
Strider, I know a good way is what you need to do is just fork it and remove all copyright information from it.
Yeah, like that Russian guy tried to do with the...
I made this.
and the Yank script we did. No, I mean, it's just about time we got something that was not Google branded because, like something based on WebKits. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's Midori, there's Epiphany, there's Reconq, Usable, Conqueror, but I mean, these don't really count, we need something like real Chromium that's not Google, right?
Right. Like Vivaldi. I mean, once you knock the Bing out of your mouth the first time you do a default search, well, that is like, then you spend 15 minutes turning it into a reasonable browser that doesn't have all the YOLO and the swag on it. Vivaldi's just really neat, interesting piece of kit. But yeah, hey, this is priced to sell it free. Go check it out. Put it in your face. You might like it. But, Strider, we got some sad news. It looks like
we got some bits of non-news,
okay.
something that didn't happen. And people were worried that it were happening.
Are you saying the internet overreacted to something?
No.
Yes, yes, it did. Once again.
Shocking. Evil people.
Some people were worried that they couldn't use their Chromecast device with Chromium. The users noticed that it wasn't working. They went on the forums, the Google products forums, and they said, okay, my Chromecast isn't working with Chromium. And some support people told them, well...
Okay, you want to make sure when you say support people, a Google product expert, which is like a student athlete, volunteer labor, completely unpaid, answered this guy back. And that went unchecked. And that was the seed of which this grew from. Somebody was like, I kind of know about this stuff, but I'm not from Google or anything.
No, he said what he was supposed to say, and which is Chromecast is not supported with Chromium, and that's exactly what it is. And most of the things are not supported on Chromium because the real products that is supported is Chrome.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to get something fixed in Chromium, you do it like a grown-up, and you submit an issue in their issue tracker. You do not bug Google support in their forums. That's the proper way to do it. And this is something that's really common, is people do not understand the word support. Support, something that is supported, does not mean that it will work or it will not work. It means that you don't get technical support from the company. And being
Valve doesn't support anything outside of Ubuntu on Steam, and yet you can run it on Fedora, you can run it on Arch, you can run it on everything.
It's the same thing. It's not Steam isn't supported on anything other, and it works fine. I mean, it does not mean the same thing. And sure, the Chromecast did not work, but turns out it was a simple bug which has been fixed. So just report
what
bugs.
Is the fun in waiting to figure out what the actual clarification is instead of just flipping out on Reddit? I mean, isn't that a lot more productive for society, Strider?
I guess it is for some people who can't figure out how to report bugs and just find it better just to make a drama out of stuff.
It's not even not knowing how to report bugs. It's not knowing how to read bug reports, because the bug had been reported. They disabled the Chromecast functionality on Chromium for one measly nightly, and then they fixed it. And it's now fixed. If you're running the current version of Chromium, you can use Chromecast again. And this is yet more evidence that a certain subset of Linux users need to grow a thicker skin and, keep their pants on until there's official confirmation about these things one way or the other.
I don't know, man. One of the big things with me from this entire story was like, what? Chromecast from your... What? All right. Fair enough. But something people also will do is use Plex for completely legitimate reasons and no way nefarious, or maybe things that picked up at local video stores. They have an announcement. There is now a formless and void blah, 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 whatever. I mean, wow, that really don't write stuff like that, Plex. I love you. But they're going to put Plex in the cloud. You can sign up for an account. It's currently in beta. If you want to get in, they might think of it. Al Gore's even in here. Wow, okay. And you can store all your stuff on Amazon Drive. I know people listening to the sound of my voice, you're already thinking, that's an incredibly stupid idea because you know what I got in my library, right? And I was like, yeah, it's an incredibly stupid idea because pro tip, pulled this off the Zons, man. Amazon explicitly bans users from hosting infringing content on its servers, such as downloaded movies, and I would like to see you prove that your legitimately ripped DVDs were not legitimately downloaded. Strider?
Yeah, I mean, hosting pirated content on the cloud, I mean, what kind of idea is this? And they could have fixed it by doing some encryption on the files, but they state it's right here in the post is they say Plex does not do any file level encryption or modify your files on Amazon Drive in any way. This would have been the only way to fix this issue of hosting these like sketchy files, and they didn't do it.
Well, man, this is coming from Plex. I mean, you remember, if you've been using Plex since forever, like I do, I know there's somebody out there, but there's open source alternatives. And I'm like, yeah, but this runs on Linux. So here's the thing. It's Plex. These are, the cloud ideas, like, that's stupid, but these are the same ones. The same crew. This is, well, we're going to remove RAR support from Plex because we don't want those pesky naughty pirates. And I was like, but I store all my Linux ISOs and RAR file that I watch on Plex. But they did that, and it's kind of perplexing, maybe you could say, because it's one of those well-known secrets that no one talks about what Plex is really used for.
And I guess now I know why Amazon doesn't support, online content in Portugal. Because there's certain...
maybe people are new to the show in Portugal. I mean, just go for it, right?
It's not exactly like that.
It should be. You have piracy tax on media.
Yeah, you pay tax on every bit of storage you get. So let's say you get yourself an SSD. This one's actually bricked, but whatever. You get yourself an SSD, and on top of the regular price that you would pay, you pay a certain tax based on the capacity of said SSD, hard drive, SD cards, anything that can hold non-volatile storage is subject to that tax. And what that tax is for is simply copyright. So anything that lands on your hard drive is basically yours. And I'm guessing Amazon doesn't like that.
Strider, could this be fixed if they chose someone else? Okay, no, you see, this would be how ridiculous. Would you even trust the service if it was hosted on like Mega or something like that?
I would trust it more. I mean, I do use Mega once in a while for hosting stuff, but I'm not sure it would be possible to stream stuff.
There used to be Mega Upload Video.
Used to be, keyword.
Just saying.
Yeah, I usually use Mega for like archives, so either personal backups or video games. But I'm not sure. It could be. It would be smarter to use a service like Mega, and not Amazon, which has like a competing product, which is Amazon Prime Video.
And well, I even had to look at like legitimate things, because I bought the Mystery Science Theater 3000 reunion thing. It was like 15 quid. Big deal. Which I had to buy it because empty when we were at the after show. It was like, that's out. And I was like, well, there goes that money. Own it. It's DRM free. But if I put that up there, it's probably going to trigger some type of content. I mean, it's just a stupid idea from this. The only thing you're going to be able to store are cat videos. And I don't think that is really the use case for Plex. But. Maybe you could turn your PocketCHIP into a full-fledged Plex box running a desktop because you hate yourself, right?
Running Plex, I'm not sure about this, but running a few other things like the XFCE desktop and RetroArch and a bunch of other software, I mean, you can. So the thing is they tell you in this blog post how to achieve that and how to make this XFCE desktop run properly on the chip. And you need to configure like the touchscreen. You need to configure the keyboard.
You need to configure the max and min voltage. All right, got it.
The voltage of stuff. I mean, it's a pretty long tutorial, and I wonder why didn't they do all of this and make an image out of this? I mean, I always complain when there's like useless distros that just ship Ubuntu with a custom theme, a custom like selection of packages for the desktop computer. But now there was a legitimate use case for a distro, and now you have to do all this thing by hand. And
yeah, that's exactly because of that those distros that amount to literally very little over Ubuntu with a custom theme ship ISOs, because they don't want to show it to people and have them go through an entire rigmarole like this tutorial.
The big takeaway is Strider's never happy. I mean, the other. He's going to find something to complain about. But this is for the chip, that $9 computer that Mir in chat room picked up the case for, which I think was like another 30 wet stinky caches.
50, I think.
Oh, 50? Okay.
Yeah.
Slap that together and you had an interesting piece of kit. I love XFCE4, currently running it right now on the desktop we're recording and streaming all this business on. But, you know, I think this belongs on Reddit's DIY section. It's because a lot of times, I can excuse something with just the neat factor. I was like, completely useless, but that's neat. I won't play with that.
But this is
I saw this right before I finished that previous sentence and said, that's neat, but what was it? Was it Truggy? Yeah. Touchscreen, XFCE? No.
Yeah, no, because this is missing the point. The chip is supposed to be something that you use on an embedded system. You're not going to be using it as a desktop or even a laptop. So, missing the point
for the
101?
PocketCHIP, so it's more like a handheld device.
Yeah. So
I don't know, Strider. Looking at your show notes here for this week, talking about that chip. This thing could land us on Mars, man.
I mean, it is. I noticed something is that the chip is underestimated, but you have to remind yourself that it is a 1 gigahertz CPU, and this is, well, I mean, 15 years ago we had those 1 gigahertz CPUs, and we
x86.
used to. Yeah, it was. So it should be even better because ARM is superior to x86.
We will have his hate mail available. You can send it. We'll tell you how to do that later in this show. But we need to thank the people making this show possible. If you like the show, want to kick us a few coin, a shekel or two, head over to linuxgamecast.com, hit support the shows, and we have a Patreon. Beautiful people keeping this budget and keeping this show loud, live, independent. You don't have to worry about corporate overlord sponsorship. We have some Amazon links. If you're thinking about buying something, think about heading over there, clicking that link. We get a cut, just a little bit. Well, if you're old school, you're like, hey, man, I just want to throw a little bit in your direction with this old-time PayPal. I don't like that fancy Patreon stuff. We have the buttons there as well. If you do join the Patreons, we got a couple of pretty neat things. I think we're at 99 videos and some guides and stuff like that we are going to have up and currently have up. So check that out. You get access, you get to see the sausage while it's being made, the show notes. And that is our budget for everything, this show and Linux Gamecast Weekly. So if you want to, hey man, check it out. But also share the show. That's really important because, times is like, hey man, I can't help out. You can just share and like put a weird hashtag on it with soup or something, right?
Yeah. Anything. Just go on Twitter and say we make fun of people on Tumblr. It's a complete lie, but hey, maybe.
Man, I'm already triggered. What?
If you ask us, Nasi, to make fun of people on Tumblr, I mean, we could do it for like 20 seconds.
Okay. That's enough shilling. That's our Patreon, patreon.com/Linux Gamecast. Head over there, see if it's something you're interested in, and help us do cool shite. Okay, OpenTunes.
Exactly. So OpenTunes, we talked about it a few weeks ago. So it's this professional animation software that's used mostly in like cartoons and anime. And it was open source like a few months ago. I have never tried it before because mostly there were no builds available, and this has changed. So the how do you say that? Morev Now project, which is an initiative to provide like
yeah, just pretend you have an aneurysm. We're trying to say
VNA. More VNA.
Okay. You can say more VNA or more FNA. I mean, I don't care. They provided a build for OpenTunes, and it works quite nicely. I mean, you just have to download an app image and make it executable and launch it, and it works out of the box, and it should work on Ubuntu, Fedora, and any distro out there. Because that's what app image do. You could just have this binary.
Yeah, we definitely talked about it. And I was talking to Jordan, I think last night. And I'm starting to like these flat app snap thingies. I haven't changed my mind on them. I think it's the redundancy fairy just a bit. But I did learn, it was like app images. Like, what would be this moon technology? I knew what it was. And to the Googles, I was like, how do I run this thing? I was like, oh, all right, plus X this thing, chmod. Launched it. I was like, okay, that was easy. And I think that is a very good use case for something that maybe you want to try before you buy, you want to try before you PPA, before you throw it into a copper repo. Or, if you're on Arch, you probably had it before it came out, so don't worry. And give it a run. And that was another thing. I was like, that was wicked easy. So I went to the OpenShot, one of the latest builds of that, the app image with a 2.0. I was like, well, has this managed to even get halfway usable compared to the current version I have, 2.0, beta 4, whatever, alpha 4? And it hadn't. So I wasn't surprised by that.
It's app images when it comes to like the containers that are currently competing to get the number one spot, like your snap packages and your flat packs. It's probably the most self-contained one, ironically, because if we're going to release an app in a snap package and you need to have the snap daemon running. Oh, we're going to release an app in a flat pack, but you need to have the flat
pack runtime and everything. App images are really simple. You just download one file, you make it executable, and you run it. It's like any other libraries, and it contains everything. So it's really a nice option. I mean, it's maybe less capable of that. If you compare it to Snaps,
it's not less capable. It's just the whole. It's not exactly statically linked, but they're static libraries. They don't get updated. The only way to update that would be to update the entire app image. While that's the big difference between the flat packs and the snap packages to the app images. So go check that out. If you're into animation tunes or whatever, and you listen to the show, and you want to send us back some feedback and let us know how you liked it, maybe make a short animation, try to keep it, PG-13. But then again, I've been watching network TV recently, and wow, all right, that definition has changed. But, we switched video, and this week, screens? What's up?
Screens. So it's
Scrim?
It's a device which you can use to provide like your TV with picture-in-picture for all
like
sorts
a video
of.
signal?
You can put all kinds of video inputs and then reorganize them with your Android device. You have this layouts of your TV
sweet, man.
on your Android app or iPhone, I don't know. And you can resize the windows and make one you can have your Twitter feed on the side and like a game on the bottom, like watch some sports on the top, things like that. So I find it's a logical following. I mean, we have these things like Steam Link and OBS, which you can already do that kind of thing, like manage some video sources and put them on on the side and
you
stuff
can actually stream them to a file. Yes, that works.
Yeah, and it's kind of the logical following to these things. It's a good idea. I mean, we got to a point, if you remember Back to the Future, like this TV when you can watch all these channels at the same time. Well, this is way better because, I mean, you can reorganize them the way you want, and you can do all this cool stuff with it. So that's kind of neat. Then you were not sure it was running with Linux, but do you think it's maybe use Windows 10?
No, man, it's clearly running embedded Windows 10. That absolute. I don't know. What they do say on their web zone is it's running ScreenOS, which I'm guessing is Linux, which makes me more curious is, don't you kind of owe us a little bit of transparency there, what you did with that, Brian? I kind of like to see what's exactly going on under the hood.
I'm pretty sure it's making heavy use of FFmpeg.
We don't know. We'd like to know, so call us. But you kind of got the idea of what Strider would use it for. I'd use it for a very wicked, cheap video switcher, for people like us doing shows on, hella low budgets. So check that out. Take a look at it. Let us know what you think. And I think it is like under 400 What Stinky caches too. So
they're on Kickstarter. So if you feel like,
well, they finished the Kickstarter. Done with that.
Oh, they finished it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's just like
I just said. Right. They did. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just I was looking at it and the use case that they provided, I'm like, one device to stream them all, one device to decode them, one device to connect them all, and in pointlessness bind them.
Gandalf the Grey. Gandalf the Grey.
Because this is kind of pointless for the
it is
specific
pointless.
use
They didn't
case.
mention Al Gore once on their website.
And it's for the use case that they keep hammering on in that page, there's no point. But for something like video switching, like what Ven mentioned, that actually makes sense.
I don't know. I mean, you got to think in the mind of a console user. If you're a cool console user, we love you, but you know the ones we're talking about. Even console users, like, yeah, we know who you're talking about. Being able to like play your game, watch your stuff, maybe have a chat window or something like that, instead of trying to use the xclone just cluster F that is available in the system.
Yeah, for people who stream on Twitch, for example, or YouTube, it could be quite useful. I mean, usually mainly console gamers, but maybe also PC gamers who want to stream from a TV or I don't know. I guess for that use case, it could be good.
Well, coming up next is something about tessellation that I have no clue about.
Yeah, this is a bit of old news, but only just now became relevant to me because I bought that cheapo
This is now
laptop.
news because it's relevant to Pedro. I love that.
No, it only just became relevant to me because of that laptop, because that has a Haswell i3 4005U. So it still only officially supports OpenGL 3.3 because there are two extensions that only support Broadwell and up in OpenGL, which are the FP64 shaders and the GLX Vertex Atrib 64-bit extension that also is only supported on Broadwell and up. Now, those two extensions control the tessellation shaders, which, at this point, a lot of games use. Not only in OpenGL, but also in Vulkan. So having that functionality in Mesa would provide not just better OpenGL support, but better Vulkan support as well. And Iago Toral made a blog post on July 13th saying why exactly those GPU shaders FP64 and the Vertex Atrib 64-bit shaders were only supported on Broadwell and up. And there's certain differences between the hardware, since Ivy Bridge and Haswell are very similar, but Broadwell was an entirely new architecture, so they did things differently. And the other interesting point, which Strider actually mentioned, was this isn't coming from Intel. This is coming from Igalia.
Yeah, this made me quite angry because reminded me that Intel does not care about Linux a lot. I mean, they do care a little, but they are not giving enough resources to implement stuff, to implement drivers. And we mentioned that last week as well when we talked about the Lenovo story, where Intel didn't provide like Linux drivers for their RAID stuff. And they have to get their drivers done by a private company from Spain that has nothing to do with Intel. I mean, Igalia, they are like they look like an awesome company. They work on.
So you're saying that's a worse idea than AMD waiting for volunteers to figure stuff out?
AMD, I mean, they mess things up. They seem more like.
I mean, you're French, you're socialist, you're angry that people are getting paid to do stuff. Is that the root core we're dealing with here?
No, I want people get paid by Intel to make these drivers, because Intel has had OpenGL4 support on Windows for years now. And if they really wanted to have OpenGL4 on Linux, this would have happened like many years ago.
Yeah, but from the Intel's point of view, the thing is they don't have to share the source code on Windows. They could just have their proprietary drivers and away we go. On Linux, the only drivers that support them, since they don't have like a proprietary blob of their own, is the Mesa drivers, and those are completely open source. So no, they don't want to share their code.
I can sort of see. I mean, they know it's going to be open source in the end, and they have like, what is there to hide? I mean, seriously, it's
there's usually like deals with other companies, middleware, if you want to call it that. There's like stuff that was licensed from other companies that they no longer are in contact with and they don't want to get back in touch with, just to ask for the rights to share the code.
That's a very long way of the PR guy walking out to the podium, tapping the mic and going, that would be disclosing trade secrets. That's why.
Yeah.
And we're out. But if you thought the video switching device, which we weren't 100% positive running Linux, was a bit stretching for a story, this next one's going to blow your mind because I don't even know why it's on here. Tell me about it, Pedro.
I put it in the notes because there were only like 5 stories at the time, and I figured, you know what, if there's too many, we'll cut it out. But hey, we didn't. So
we're just rolling that this thing runs embedded Linux. We're just saying it does because we need it.
Yeah. Okay. It probably will, yes. And all things considered, Snapchat does run on Android. That runs on top of the Linux kernel.
Okay, something you can technically use. All right.
Yeah. Snapchat are developing sunglasses with cameras in them, because that was such a good idea when Google did it. And the article goes, oh, it's different from Google Glass, you guys. And then we get down to the price and they say, oh yeah, it'll only cost like $130. Okay, so that's different.
$129 unless you're in Australia. Then it's $168 because, you know,
you have to pay the upside down tax. Yes. So, I guess if you're going to target Snapchat users, it's probably a good idea to make those glasses look like hipster glasses. It really does demonstrate a good understanding of your audience. Unfortunately, targeting the hipster crowd is going to drive everyone else away because no one wants to deal with those guys.
That's not the market they're trying to hit, man. I knew what these were before you put them in the article, because not neighbor, but neighbor. His teenage regular kid too. He plays football, not hand egg, but he's just a footballer, regular teen. I think he's like 15 or 16 now. Lit about these. He's like, yes, waiting for him. Teenagers. Not hipsters. Now, I guess you could be a hipster teenager, but you're like a proto-hipster at that point. It doesn't really count. You haven't reached your final form yet. #Frieza. They're waiting. They're munching for these things. And at that price, that is $129 price, puts it in their range. This is not something... Unfortunately, you are going to see hipsters wearing these, and
yes.
More fortunately, they're going to be distracted by recording something and walking into oncoming traffic.
So yeah, I don't know exactly how they hope to break even with, you know, the social media Snapchat crowd.
These things
teenagers
will sell more than Beanie Babies, man. Everyone will have these. Strider, you would wear ugly things like this and call it stylish. Look at his headphones, people. So.
I mean, I'm too old to even get what Snapchat is meant for. I mean, it's
really. I was reading James May from Top Gear. I think he's like 900 years old, and he's on Snapchat.
Yeah, well, I don't get it. I see all these people having this little ghost avatar, and I don't know why.
Spooky
why
ghost.
They do that. I mean, I could just bike to the Snapchat offices in Venice and ask them, but I'm good for that.
All right, so let's cut to our special own segment of the week called A Slice of Pie, where we talk about everything pie-related.
Hey, man, we get to talk about...
Oh, that's not a pie.
Nope, you stall for me, Pedro, stall.
This is an x86 Braswell Microsom. Yeah, and according to Brian Fagioli, that's a very complicated name.
Fagioli?
This is Fagioli, whatever. This is an Intel-based Braswell SoC that you can get for the low price of oh crap. I had it and then I lost it.
Oh.
It was like 157.
For your base level, that's 2 gigabytes, 2 gigabytes of the memories, and heatsink optional, because the first thing I was like, all right, how do you cool this thing? A Braswell heatsink. Something tells me the size comparison of what we're looking at there, Pedro, is like what you thought the Hyper 212 was before you actually saw it.
Probably, yeah. But yeah, no, that's probably going to take up the entire board, like right up until the USB ports. But yeah, no, this is one of those x86 SoCs that have a similar form factor to the Pi, but fail to grasp the basic thing that makes the Pi as interesting and as widespread as it is.
There. There's a for the video, that's an RS-232 or 2016 or 2025 watch battery on there. So I mean, it is itsy bitsy, but Strider, why do you want it so bad, man?
I don't really want it. I mean, the article about this device is clickbaity. It says it will destroy the Pi, and I mean, it's just a totally different kind of device. And I've seen some boards, like some x86 boards in the past. Well, this one happens to be a bit smaller than the ones before.
So you're telling me it's hotter?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a little bit hotter, but I don't know. Maybe it's more power efficient. I'm not sure about this. It's just very expensive compared to a Pi. If you want to buy like the most, the best board with all the accessories, like the case with the heatsink, with some storage, you'll have to pay like $350 for the whole package.
Here we go, 110 volt. So
112 volts. So this can't be run through USB, can it?
Well, if you want more than, not if you want more than 5 volts and exploding USBs, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's the big thing about USB 3.1 right now. No.
It's basically a mini PC. I mean, it's like mini ITX, except smaller. So it's not a bad thing. It's just not competing.
Missing the point. Because the Pi is only as widespread as it is because it's $35.
Look, you're missing the point. Okay, I want to be Elite Hacksaw, but I don't understand how to Linux, and I can run my Windows on this and pretend. Oh, you gotta run
Windows 10.
Yeah. Then I can be like, I got 1, 2 guys, and someone will just slap it out of your hand like they should. But what we initially meant to put in...
Yes, it was the dongle.
Raspberry Pi Zero into a tiny dongle computer? Oh my. Again, neat. Strider, give me a use case, man. Help me. I want to like it. I really want to like it.
I think messing with other people's computers. That's
violently. I don't.
I mean, if you want to, if you're not at home and you have this in your pocket and with a whole bunch of tools like networking tools or I don't know your usual stuff, then you can use this to use a computer and.
It's like Strider did it. You're doing just as good a job as I'm trying to do the mental gymnastics. Like, why should I make this again? Come on, come up with a reason. I dare you. I double dare you.
I'd have this in my pockets in order to have the usual
at the airport
tools.
Yeah, that's going to be confiscated.
The only thing that bugs me is that they mention in the post that you need to install possibly some drivers to make the networking work. And it's kind of like...
Well, I mean, it says this is going to make it more useful, and like shoving an UBS port on the end of it is...
It's, and the only way you can actually see the screen is if you VNC into the Pi. Yeah, well, so they're trying... Yeah, they're trying to go to the route of the Intel Compute Stick, but that had an HDMI port, which you plugged into a display. You plugged it in through HDMI.
I mean, can you put a HDMI out on a Pi Zero? Is that not possible? It doesn't have pins?
You can probably use the pins for it instead of just using the pins to plug in, say, a touchscreen, one of those teeny tiny touchscreens. You could probably turn it into an HDMI. But the way they use it, so it's a self-contained thing, is that you just plug it in through a USB and
Listen,
then you...
man, I have duct tape. I can tape a screen to that. I can fuse it, man. It'll still be all in one.
Yeah, but you have to use the VNC to actually see what's happening on the Pi, or just SSH into it if you
I
just want to
can
use the
see
terminal.
that as a device that would parasite another computer.
Yeah.
Like it would
I'm still probably going to stick one together, just be like, you know what this is? This is computer on a stick. Be done with that, but I do want to make one last little note on this because I finally watched episode 4 of Mr. Robot, series 1. That only took me 9 months. And there was a little scene, I'm not spoiling anything, but he's like, what we need to do is install this circuit board. And I went, oh, come on, because you know what that is, because it was like a Raspberry V2.
Yep.
And he holds it up, this circuit board. And I was like, really, Mr. Robot? You're supposed to be the technical adept? What? And then one person, you know, across the room's like, come on, we all know what a Raspberry Pi is. And I was just, well done. You pissed me off. And
they had the self-awareness
you kicked me right in the throat when I was getting run. You're like, oh, all right, you win. But that was me screaming at them. How can they scream at us?
Well, everyone who watches the show, even if they don't like us very much, they can scream in our direction by going to linuxgamecast.com, hitting that contact button on the nav bar, filling out the form. You can pick LWDW for this very same show.
Hey man, somebody didn't read the instructions this week.
Yes, indeed. Someone actually got in touch with us this week and forgot to read that bit that if you want to send us keys for your game, make sure to send 3. Pretty please. Okay? Yeah, you can also leave us a comment wherever you happen to see the video posted. YouTube, Patreon, if you find it on one of the social networks, track down the original post, leave us a comment there. We'll see it. If it's good, we'll feature it on the show. And, well, we didn't have all those many good comments, but we did have a very good one.
Well, Random Ask, he was writing about video production, I do believe. What was it? In all fairness, Vin has a point. That is rare. That's stupid that you pretty much need... Oh, he's talking about KDN Live, the KDE Kitchen Sink in order to run it. That said, it still seems to be a great video editor, although it sounds like OpenShot will run... No, it won't. No. KDN Line's already won that one when it has all the features of the 4-year-old version in 2030. That is still optimism that I do admire. I have yet to take the stability... Well, I have yet to have the stability problems you spoke about. Well, okay. So until Spike crashes on me, it seems like the kind of thing where you can just use whatever works for you and be fine, like a lot of things in Linux seems to be. So say we, that is one of the beautiful things about Linux, but that is one of the nasty things about humanity's tribal, like reptilian brain. Even that we're all on Linux, then we still have to find a way to, you know, be individuals. Like, but I only use this program, and you either run this program or all your opinions are invalid. Nah.
And that is why there are so many desktop environments.
Vim Master Race.
I don't get it. I mean, I don't get what the problem is with installing like Qt5 libraries on your system if you don't run KDE. I mean,
it's not just the Qt5; it's the entire KDE5 framework.
It's a framework, so it makes KDE and Live able to work. So, and it's pieces of code that will not affect the rest of your system. Mm-hmm. They will make KDE and Live able to work, and it will just take a few megabytes on your SSD, and that's all.
Okay, well, I don't use your logic. I just don't want to install it. What are you going to do now, huh?
Well, don't use KDE and Live. That's all.
Maybe they need to make like a 6 gigabyte app image for KDE and Live.
Exactly. But it will be on your system, but you just won't know about it.
Right.
Will that make you happier?
Okay, well, last week, we just got off the Pies, so we're coming back to Pies. We talked about something apparently we didn't understand, or did we?
Ah, yes, because Lockdown, he got in touch with us and said that very same thing. All 3 of you missed the mark. Shame. With a desktop machine, it's easy to load up ad blockers, no matter what they are. But what about non-desktop devices? It's a bit trickier. So what he's discovered is that with the Pi hole, if you just plug one of the Pi holes that we mentioned last week to whatever network device you have, you can get all your Android devices filtered ads. Or say, the example he gives is, I find it extremely easy to set up, and it's something you can install in Grandma's network, so her Windows XP machine runs just a little bit faster when checking Fox News. And yeah, I guess that would be a use case which I had not considered.
That sounds like a very, very good idea. What I really want to know is, can I configure the Pi-hole to replace ads with pictures of weasels?
Yes. There's actually a script for that. It's not weasels by default, it's cats, but yes.
Can I do it with capybaras? Can it work?
You probably could, but that'll probably open a gate to Tartarus or something like that. Probably not a good idea.
What I don't get is, how does this work? Does the Raspberry Pi do some kind of man-in-the-middle attack on all your devices, and then reroutes everything? Wouldn't that slow everything down? Because
it depends on how you're. If you have a Pi 3, you actually get gigabit. So no.
I don't know. Then again, this grandmother that apparently watches Fox News now. We're working on her story, but she's mad hacks, man. Because she already had the Pi. She's putting this together, but then she's like, "Hey, man, how about I DDWRT, man? Throw that up on the router and just set that up and block it that way."
I would be more comfortable with this running on an actual router rather than an external Raspberry Pi.
That's because you don't like to live dangerously, man. I want to run it on my Pi on the floor and slide it around every now and then, just so I have the chance to step on it to prove,
Yeah, and I guess this makes sense for Grandma's use case alone. You just go to Grandma's house, you drop the Pi, plug it into her router, boom. But if you have an Android device, I don't use my Android devices all that much in the house unless I'm in the pooper and I'm playing Hearthstone on the tablet, or if I have the phone in my hand, I'm either showing it on camera for this show or Linux Gamecast Weekly, or I'm taking a call, so I'm not really browsing the interwebs. This would be more useful if it would allow me to block ads without having to root said Android devices, but you can.
Well, all right, let's face facts. First thing, you've already rooted your Android device. Let's just get that out of the way. Install F-Droid, which is, the open source free app. It's legit. It's not like, Bob's Hearthstone or something like that. And download Attaway, and it will install a host and I, massive list, and you don't have to worry about all that. I mean, it just blocks it globally, which is great, but Vin, you're taking away Android. Mobile, I'm sorry, I don't do a lot of web browsing on mobile, and all the apps that I have that are paid for. They're not ad supported. So, that's going to do it for this week's show, ladies and gentlemen. You can always find me. I'm at Vinstone on the Twitter nets, plus Vinstone G+ is Pedro.
Hi, I'm Pedro Mateos. You can find me at Unaccounted For on Twitter or plus Pedro Mateos on Google+.
Plug Lutris. Don't forget to plug Lutris.
I won't. Look, I'm Mathieu. You can find me on Striker on Twitter and on Mathieu Commandant on Google+, and on Lutris.net as well.
And on his wall. He was so strict, and he was like, "Oh my God, he almost squeed." We will be back next Wednesday. We got the times on linuxgamecast.com. Hit that live button. This is one of the two shows. That other show we're speaking of is Linux Gamecast Weekly, where Pedro and I shall return around 9:30 Eastern Time.
With the help of our heterosexual Canadian life mate, Mr. Jordan Swan.
Tamed Canadian podcaster. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.